Welcome back to MMA Unhinged, and joining us today is Alex Easy Polizzi. Alex, how are you, and how are you feeling as we're just about a month out from your fight?
We're feeling good, PFL's got me staying busy, and as usual, I've talked about my gym out here as Extreme Couture. Just keep me ready for whatever fight I got at hand. Whether we're getting ready for PFL, whether we're in Bellator, we're ready to scrap.
Hey, I gotta ask before I go any further. What is it like to have Randy Couture do commentate some of the fights? I mean, I wasn't sure if I would ever see the day.
Yeah, it's something, and I mean, at our gym, Randy's on the sign, but he's not he's his own guy, and he's kind of behind the scenes, so it's kind of nice seeing him get out there and get back into it and doing what he's known for. It's something. It's cool.
Yeah, and I know it's his gym and everything, and he's on the sign and whatnot. But it is cool to see him kind of get back into the game and step in and just share his knowledge, especially when he's just commentating the fights and what's going on. But he shares his knowledge. It's great to see. But before I go any further, thanks for taking the time in. I know we were just talking about with the time changing and whatnot, so I do appreciate your flexibility, and I do appreciate you taking the time. So let's just jump into the Bellator getting bought out by the PFL. What were you being under the PFL banner? What were your first initial thoughts when they got bought out? And did Bellator reach out to you and reassure you like this was just under the PFL banner, or did you think, oh shit, like this was it, and am I gonna have to try to get in with the PFL?
I got asked that a lot, especially when news is flying around like, oh yeah, it just got bought out, and it's like, I tell people all the time, I'm in terms of corporate buyouts and stuff. I mean, we're talking exec level decisions when I'm a guy who fights in a cage. Like they're not running decisions by me, But when it finally come to pass and it's like, hey, this is really happening, it's exciting because I think that where Bellator was at and kind of where I was dealing with them. Obviously, anyone who's been following my career, we had a little injury. We were just talking before about Yoel Romero fight, but we got off that, and then there was just a lot of waiting, a lot of time. And it was, we were kind of, as part of Bellator, we were wondering, hey, what gives, what's going on? So when it finally came through that PFL was doing the takeover, it was one, yeah, scary, but two, maybe this will be an exciting change. And I think that especially for the sport that we're in, if you're not willing to adapt to change on any sort of level, then you're asking for a whooping.
What did you think about the PFL kind of putting on that friendly competition with the Bellator champs versus the PFL champs? Did you think that was kind of the right move to do?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you go through a big thing like that, they're obviously looking to make a splash and say, hey, like this is a big thing that we're doing, and it's not just some behind this. As I said, I compared it to like, the big wigs are making the choices, but at the same time, they got to show to the fans, to the people that are already involved with both PFL and Bellator, respectively, that, hey, this is something that we're looking forward to. This is something that we're serious about. And I think that event went and showed people that, hey, this is what's happening. This is the direction we're taking the sport. This is the direction we're taking our league, and you guys should tune in and watch.
And I'm not quite surprised that they did that, because I mean Bellator had the history doing that little cross pollination with Risen, so I think that was really cool and neat to see. I wanted to ask you, can you kind of talk about the transition that you went from Bellator to PFL, because I know a lot of Bellator fighters have done that, and if you look at like the PFL cards, the guys that have come to PFL, you see former Bellator fighter underneath on the fight card. So can you talk about your transition?
I could, but I don't think it'd be that exciting, really. Uh, it's again, like I said, we're guys that fight in a cage, and whether the banner is PFL, UFC, Bellator, Pride, whatever you got. I mean, it's two guys fighting in a cage. I will say that with PFL, there's some neat little tricks, and anyone who's been watching along has maybe seen a difference in the production. And of course, there's the smart cage that we got to talk about. But from a purely fighter standpoint, besides me not being able to throw elbows, and again, like maybe there's some guys out there that are used to, oh no, my flying spinning elbow, but I was always really more focused on the wrestling, grappling, and if elbows came a little bit during ground pound, they came. But if we can't throw them, not a big loss.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to get an update on is I think the last time we spoke, I don't think you had that half sleeve on your left arm. So what is it, and what's the story behind it?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Luke. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God, I don't know. I swear I thought I saw something, or was it added on, or was edited? There was something I saw, a picture of you with it. So I don't know what that was about.
You can't trust everything you see on the internet there, Luke.
Yeah, somebody might have added that on. So I've been fooled. I've been punked. Oh man, I'm at it again. But that being said, so I when I asked about your transition, a couple of fighters I've talked about that was in the PFL that went to Bellator, then the Bellator to PFL. So was there something in there that did they ask you, would you like to go into the PFL season, or do you want to stay in Bellator? Is that like, what was your story with that?
As with most things, they threw the offer out there. They said, hey, Alex, we're looking to expand our roster a little bit. Are you interested? Mm-hmm. And while talking over with the manager and my team, we kind of decided that it would be a better look to try for the PFL rather than stay in the. And I know there's still rumors swirling about exactly what is Bellator now, because they're still running events, but they don't seem to be as frequent or as so. It was more just about. And like I said, we kind of been grinding our gears a little bit, waiting for the next fight, wondering when the next Bellator event's going to be. And what's nice about the PFL and their format is that the season's here. You're going to get the fights. You're going to try to earn your keep. Then there's postseason. Then there's tournament. So it was kind of a sure thing over Bellator, and whether there's going to be crossover a little bit back and forth in the future, we'll have to see. Again, I mean, you're probably more informed than I am about where Bellator is headed as its own league in the future, because last I heard it was, we're going to run it for a couple of years and see where it goes, and then So it was really about just finding the sure thing and making sure that I had fights, making sure I was staying active.
For sure. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up. For yourself, I know you're no stranger to staying active. And obviously with the PFL, with the season, you look at these guys and they're fighting maybe every other month. So it doesn't seem much of a stretch for you. Is that something that you knew that is something that wouldn't be a problem for you, as some fighters may have found?
Yeah. And we actually, I talked about this a lot before the first fight of the season in the PFL. The season is a grind, and it's hard, and it's not something that other leagues are doing. The format's a little different, but I think due to my background of wrestling, where wrestling was compete every week, you make weight every week. That grind is a little more. The grind is ingrained. So really the PFL season and going on these slogs really isn't too far-fetched, and the way I approach camp and the way I approach training actually works out well. I'm not one of the guys that's, taking a week off after they fight or taking a month off and blowing up, getting real heavy, and then having to work my way back down. If we can help it and the fight goes well and we can get back into the gym, even the Monday after, I'm back there. I'm ready to work, getting ready for the next one.
Obviously the beginning of your PFL season didn't go the way you wanted to. With the continuation of the fights they're so frequent, they get put on there so frequently. Does that kind of help get over every loss? Because obviously nobody likes to lose, but does that kind of help push you through that and just stay focused on the next fight, and obviously getting you focused on Antonio?
Yeah, exactly. Just as you said, it's there's the next one. And yeah, it sucks. Lose them, like nobody wants to lose. It stinks, but as part of the PFL format, you don't have time to waste a month being sad about that one, because you got another fight coming up. It's another chance to earn your spot back, to earn your keep, and to show everybody what you've been working on. So again, the format again, which. A lot of guys said, "Oh, it's the format, the problem." I'm trying to look at it, from the silver linings of, hey, man, I mean, the format's kind of working out for me, so we'll keep plugging away and keep at the looking towards the next fight.
Clearly, no fighter wants to get injured. It's always something that is probably in the back of every fighter's mind. But looking at the PFL, and I mean, just like, I've talked before about how frequent you fought, and even before the PFL. But looking at the PFL season, I mean, you don't have much time in between those fights, obviously, until the finale if you get there. But because of that, is there anything that you and your team do to prevent those injuries, because you're going to be fight train?
I've said before, and I can't talk up Extreme Couture enough, but it's a place that's filled with pros of every, there's guys flying under every banner of fight promotion that there is, but everybody's professional. Everybody's going hard, and we know how to push each other, but at the same time, there's an intelligence, because I know that sometimes when people think, oh yeah, these guys are going hard, they're brawling, you got to understand that in order, there's a certain level of control, and if you're working with a bunch of pros, they can understand it. They understand that if they clap you, yeah, that was a nice hit, but they can pull it enough that it's not gonna ring your bell. Versus, maybe if those guys are not as experienced, they haven't been through as many fight camps, they're not in a big promotion, or they're just working their way in. Especially guys at a bigger weight like mine, like light heavyweight, sometimes if somebody's having an off day, gets clipped, oh no, now that's costing them the career, that's costing them money, that's costing them time. And the guys in Extreme are really good at staying smart, training smart, but hard at the same time. Yeah. and one more thing to add to that, being in a town like Vegas, it's nice because not only is the gym equipped, but all the other parts outside of it. Like if, I need a quick physical done because there's a quick turnaround on a fight, there's places, there's doctors that are used to fighters coming in. Hey, if, I need to get fixed up on this, I need a quick treatment on this. It's the support system around the fighting is also very good.
Yeah, they're right at your disposal.
Right there.
And I want to talk about Antonio Carlos Jr. This guy's been around for a long time. Obviously, he was a champ a couple of years ago in the PFL. When you look at this guy and his resume, what do you think about him and him as a fighter?
So this is where I'm going to show my ass a little bit, because I do know that Antonio is a good fighter, former champ. And he's been around. So actually, a couple guy at my gym has fought him before, back when in his UFC days, and so there's always a good amount of information that I get from that, from my team, from my teammates, from my coaches. But as I said before, when I'm approaching fights, I'm looking at my game plan. I'm looking at where my flaws have been in the past and building on that. It's just something that I like to do, because if I have enough to think about with just handling my own situation. If I'm changing up my fights, if I'm changing up my game plan, my training for every fight I got coming at me, it's a lot. It's a lot up here. So I've kind of left a lot of that thinking and game planning to my coaches to kind of distill down to me. But much respect to him, and I know he's good. I've heard that he's got a good grappling background. Grappling is where I'm strong too, so I'm hoping to go on and put a good show for everybody.
And obviously, I wouldn't ask about your game plan, but is there anything specific that you've been working on in camp? Is it just is there the mental? Is it just the conditioning? Is it the physical? Is it just routine as usual? What have you been working on in general?
I can say routine as usual. Everyone who's watched my fights, everyone who knows my background knows I'm real wrestling heavy. I want to get in there. I want to get close. I want to scrap. But what we've been working on and blending in is working the striking into it, working the striking into the wrestling, working the wrestling into the striking. Because it's mixed martial arts. We're not at the part of the sport anymore where you can be one dimensional. You gotta blend everything together. And when you can do that effectively, when you can strike off the wrestling, it makes the wrestling better. When you can wrestle off the striking, it makes the striking better. So just a lot of the same old that we're working on, but hopefully it's gonna be some exciting stuff that the people really want to see.
Of course. And obviously, I don't want you to jump too far, and I know you're focused on this fight. But you fought Impa, and you look at this guy. If he does get through his next fight, I can only imagine that. I don't know how the PFL, I don't know how the system works with the season. And let's say you get through Antonio, is that a guy that you would like to get that fight back? Given that he's got that target on his back for sure.
Absolutely. Impa, former champ, coming right off of his 2023 season champ. I'd love to be able to get that chance to run it again. And if we're being fair, like he's the guy to beat. He's the guy to beat. If I make it through Antonio, that's the one that we're going to have to do eventually. So I feel that anyone who watched the fight, it's something that there's a lot of places that I could improve upon, and that's what we've been working on. That's what we've been training for in the gym. Those spots that happened in that fight, we're looking to bolster, looking to get better at, looking to improve upon, and I'd love to be able to do that again.
And any plans for right after the fight?
This is another one that's going to disappoint you, Luke. I don't plan for after the fight. There is no return. There is no returning flight. There is no boat home. We're going out there. We're fighting. I tell my wife. She says, "Hey, you want to plan for this? You want to plan for that?" Nope. Because the fights. It sounds cliche, but the fight's the important part, and I'm going out there and planning on just. That's the future. That's everything.
Excellent, Alex. I'm sorry for all the tough questions I was throwing you right on the spot. But seriously, thanks again, Alex, for taking the time. I know you're in fight camp right now, so I don't want to take much more of your time. So thanks again for coming on, and just good luck on June 21st.
Thanks, Luke. It's been real. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and you take care.